Well, thanks for having me. My name is Dawn Adjei. I'm a psychotherapist and life coach, and I'm here to talk to you guys about depression in men, which I'm calling this silent killer. I have a PowerPoint if you wanted to start it,
Yes.
Uncle Mike. Um, well, one of the reason why I was so interested in being here today is because like I noticed that when I'm dealing with my male clients, the sessions typically tend to go to the same. Like they start off, come in, like, hey, John, how you doing today? Oh, I'm good. Everything's good. Everything's good. And it takes about a half an hour before the stuff starts coming out. And I became very curious about that. And so in my research, oh yeah, here we go. The first slide talks about mental illness and depression in particular in African American people, in particular men. I won't go through the whole thing, but if you look right around here, the seventh stat shows that African American men are 4 times likely to to commit suicide due to depression over any other group. And that was striking to me, and I became even more curious about that. And it seemed to me when I was doing my research that it was linked to this idea of toxic masculinity, like men have to be strong, and and the idea of depression not even being called depression. And so I just wanted to talk to you guys more about that, and to see, like why you guys think that is. I guess we can talk about that in the Q&A, session. So if we go to the next slide, um, that basically, it just says that that depression goes undiagnosed in African American men, and that African American men tend to underutilize mental health services. So again, that made me feel curious about, why that is. So we'll come back to that. Let's see here. How depression shows up in men is most commonly anger, um, drinking, drug abuse, gambling, and other risky behaviors, excessive sex, or anything else that would be considered risky. Usually, things that these things are masked, like they mask the feelings of sadness. So it's hard to really identify the actual depression. Next slide. Um, here's the unhealthy coping mechanisms. Oh, I hear an echo. Do you hear that? Hello?
Yes. I think we had to mute someone.
Oh, okay. Um, and so here's some unhealthy coping mechanisms: self-medicating, drugs and alcohol, sex, clubbing, fighting, overeating. I don't want to you know, repeat it, but basically that's what depression can show up as. Not the typical definition of depression, being sad and moody and all those things. Um, Vulnerability. Now, vulnerability tends to be what I feel prevents, men in particular from feeling whatever, this sadness. Um, I use this a lot in practice, saying, you are as sick as your secrets, and that's something that's used a lot in AA. As long as you keep your your feelings to yourself, you remain sick or depressed or sad, or you're not able to experience the level of happiness that I feel like is our God-given right. Uh, and so I like to look at vulnerability being a strength, and in that being able to acknowledge your feelings, mastering your feelings as opposed to masking them, which is what people tend to do, just because it's more comfortable to, to hide behind a quote unquote stronger emotion. Um, and in being vulnerable, you can acknowledge your feelings, getting to the source, the root of your upset, to sort of massage the kinks. And I use the analogy to massage the kinks in therapy, like thinking about physical therapy. Because when you go to physical therapy, you know, you kind of got to get to the, to rebuild the muscle, and the heart is a muscle. So it's sort of the same thing, in my eyes. And then, masking emotions versus mastering emotions, which to me is, masking emotions can appear as a strength, um, but mastering emotions, I feel like takes more courage. And so that's just, my 2 cents in there in that aspect. We can go to the next slide. So then here we come to therapy. You know, therapy has sort of been this taboo word. Whenever it's like, therapy comes up, it gets really quiet and uncomfortable, like, because no one needs a therapist, because, how is somebody going to tell me how to live my life? Or how is somebody going to, help me get past this pain when they don't know me? They don't know what I'm going through. So I think it's important just to understand what a therapist is. A therapist is not someone that is the expert on you. You are the expert on you. A therapist's job is just to sit and listen and reflect whatever they hear you saying, and to provide insight. Um, so yeah, again, so I have, you don't have the answers. You have the answers, but sometimes we don't ask ourselves those hard questions, because the brain's, design is to keep itself comfortable. And so you might not ask yourself a question that's going to make you stray too much from your comfort zone, because we have this homeostasis that keeps us safe. So that's important to know. I think it's also important, if you are going to enter a therapeutic relationship, to be an informed client, knowing that just because you go into a clinic and they throw a therapist at you, that you just sit there and you're like, you're sort of, and you're powerless in that relationship. I think it's important to acknowledge your power as the client, as the master of yourself, and to be informed on what method or methodology the client, the therapist is employing. So there are different forms of therapy. There are many different forms, that I was just going to mention 3 that I think are most common. CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, is the most common, which is basically helping you change your behaviors to then change your thoughts, to then create lasting change. And that's usually what a lot of clinicians use. Psychoanalysis, which the brother mentioned earlier, where the old school Freudian technique, where you kind of sit back and talk, and then the therapist psychoanalyzes you, which is not really that common anymore. That's old. But psychoanalysis still has there's still some influence in the way that some people practice, just being able to know that that your past sort of influences your future. And so you talk about the past a lot. And narrative therapy, which I'm a fan of, because it's very strength based, and it's client based, where you sort of tell your story. And I love to sit and talk to clients about their story, because that's where the power is. I feel like the power is in you telling your story aloud, to sort of see where things kind of went awry. I like to use the analogy of driving on a freeway, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. You drive on the freeway and you miss your exit, and you're like, damn, I missed the exit. But all you kind of you get to the next exit, turn around and get back on, and then you're sort of still on your journey. And so I like to use that a lot, because it's just like that. Sometimes we get lost, we lose it, we need to find our way, get back on, boom, and now we heading down, get to hit 75 again. So yeah, what is your story? And I think that it's important to really know your story and share your story, to find value in your story. Yeah, so we can continue. Oh, also, let me talk a little bit more about therapy. That it's not, it's not a race. I don't know. You think I'm going to find a therapist and in 1 month I'm healed. It doesn't, it doesn't work like that. It's the same way as physical therapy. It takes some time to rebuild that muscle. So I would encourage you, if you were thinking about therapy, just to give it time. It may take several, one or two or three therapists. And it's definitely going to be a process, but I'm here to advocate and say that therapy does work. And from my own personal experience, because I'm a therapist, so I'm like, okay, I don't need a therapy. I've done the studies. I've studied psychology for over 12 years, and I went through a situation where I lost my mother. She passed away, and I was going through some other personal stuff, and went into a therapist, and he had the nerve to tell me that I was depressed, and I'm like, what? And I mean, it hit me, but in that work, I was able to gain more appreciation for the art of therapy, being able just to talk about what I was experiencing and have it being reflected back to me, and all the other interventions. So I'm just saying, in short, I only have a couple of minutes, but it really, like, I'm an advocate for therapy because it really does work. And it's not so relevant, like, who the therapist is. um, and I say that very lightly. I mean, obviously you want to have chemistry with the therapist that you choose, but the therapist, is doesn't have to look like you, doesn't have to have the same life experience in order to relate to you. All they have to do is be willing to see the world through your eyes. And that's what therapists are trained to do. That's what a good therapist is trained to do. So I want to kind of like dispel that myth that, oh, the therapist is not a man or a woman or black or white or Asian. They can't relate to what I'm going through. A good therapist is going to be able to really, like I said, again, see the world through your eyes. So um, that's my spiel on therapy. Like I said, we can go more into that into the question and answer session. And so some people are like, you know what, therapy's not for me. I'm not ready. So here are some things, some alternatives to therapy. Socializing. Number one, because when we're feeling depressed or we're going through our stuff, the number one thing you want to do is isolate. You don't be bothered. I don't want to answer my phone. I don't want to talk to nobody. Nobody gets it. But there's something I learned in graduate school is he who socializes actualizes. Like, as much as you don't want to, like, it's probably the most healthiest thing for you to do, just to get out of yourself a little bit. It works wonders for therapy. Exercise. Oh, I spelled exercising wrong. Oh Lord, spell check. Anyway, that says exercising. Exercising, so important for us. Like, again, something that we don't feel like doing when you're not feeling good, your body doesn't, you don't want to move, but moving your body makes a world of a difference. Eating healthy, yes, even though it's like comfort eating, you want to get that, that fried chicken, or you want to get those chips or whatever. Yeah, but what we put in our body really makes a difference. Healthy foods, healthy body, healthy mind. It's just the way that it is. Creativity, anything creative, drawing, writing, whatever you're into that's creative, because you get to use, the other side of your brain, and it helps. Sleep hygiene, so important. I don't have to say much about that. You sleep well, you feel better, you feel better, you think better, you feel better. It's like a cycle. Hobbying, meditation, deep breathing. And I wanted to put in there prayer. I don't know why I don't have that in there. So, oh, okay, I have surrender, pray. Anyway, meditation. We're just taking a minute, just sitting back, meditating. A lot of people say meditating is not for me. I can't do it. When I close my eyes, I keep thinking. What I say to that is, like, the brain's function is to think. So you're gonna think. The idea of meditation is just to be able to slow down the thinking and to be able just to, like, leave space in between the thinking. So there are many techniques for that as well. So if you need any resources, I'll be happy to share them with Uncle Mike to help, because meditation really, like, I can vouch for that as well. It really helps with with concentration, with depression, with a myriad of things. Um, Paying attention to your thoughts, like, okay, I feel crappy today. Maybe think for a second, why do I feel this way? A lot of the time we just kind of, like, kind of cover it up with stuff. And it's important to acknowledge why you're feeling that way. Because, you know, although feelings are not facts, feelings are give your body information. Okay. Surrender, pray, relinquish control, learn your triggers. Very, very, very important. I mean, you know, even if you're not a religious person, just being able to surrender, because some things, you know, we just can't control. You know, there's just things in life we just can't, no matter what. And just to be able to know that, you know, you can surrender your feeling in the moment, even like, okay, I don't have to think about this right now. I don't, this is out of my control. You can just sort of let it go. Um, Keeping a routine. I added this one new because of this, because of the whole COVID thing. It's simple, you know, a lot of us have lost that routine when you don't have to get up and go to work and, you know, do the things the same way. Believe it or not, there's value in that. And our, you know, our bodies sort of crave that normalcy. Journaling, also really important to be able to get your thoughts out. Taking a walk, similar to exercising. When you move, if something happens in your brain, it just sort of like helps just get, you know, help clear your mind. Taking a class if you're interested. And the last but not least, therapy. Okay. And then I have some resources. Okay, yes, there's a course called The Science of Happiness. Okay. Yeah, so also I found a couple of resources for you guys. The Science of Happiness is a class, a course. I think it's 28 weeks. Yale University put it out, and just you know, to help deal with depression, and it shows you different things like that are linked to happiness.
Let me just add to it. In regards to therapy, the whole purpose of therapy is to strengthen you. So we're all not strong every day and all the time. So as a therapist, and you're saying, I'm not strong at this moment, I need help. So that is really being human, regardless of who you are. Sometimes we hold on to titles so much and we forget really we're people. So we talk about, you know, toxic masculinity. We talk about the psychiatrist. You don't need help. We all need help. But the power is knowing when we need help and to get help.
Really.
Oh,
That's
this
my
has
word
been
for everyone.
wonderful. Thank you, thank you,
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Thank you so much.
I want us to help you out, Puma.
Take
I
care.
want
Good luck. This
us
is
to
great.
help you out, Puma.
And I also just want to, you know, I want to just commend you as well, like for this group. This is amazing. You know, that the brothers get a chance to come together and talk it through. This is like, you know, this is very therapeutic. So this is, you know, kudos to you. Thank you for existing. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the laughs, and for thank you for, you know, allowing me into your world. I am honored.